and welcome back to Whispered Ingredients. I'm your host, Marcus Sage, and I'm here to whisper you gently to sleep with the comforting stories behind some of our most beloved and nostalgic desserts. Tonight, we're taking a delicious journey through culinary history. We'll start with the simple elegance of strawberry shortcake, tracing its roots back to 16th century Europe before it found its home on American tables. Then we'll drift south to discover the tangy tale of Florida's key lime pie, born from the ingenuity of fishermen and cooks working with limited ingredients. We'll explore the warm, cinnamon-scented origins of those beloved morning pastries that fill our kitchens with comfort. We'll discover the surprisingly complex history of apple pie, that quintessential American dessert that actually began its journey across an ocean. Next, we'll delve into the accidental invention of chocolate chip cookies, a happy mistake that became a worldwide phenomenon. And finally, we'll finish with the southern charm of banana pudding, a dessert that transformed humble ingredients into pure comfort. Each recipe comes with its gentle preparation steps, told in hushed tones designed to ease your mind and help you drift off peacefully. If you enjoy these whispered culinary journeys, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more soothing food history. And here's something fun. In the comments below, tell me which dessert from tonight's compilation reminds you most of home, and why. I love hearing about the food memories that comfort your soul. Settle in, get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, and let the gentle rhythm of these timeless recipes carry you towards sleep. Let's get cooking. The story of strawberry shortcake begins not with strawberries, but with shortcake itself, reaching back to 1588 when the first shortcake recipe appeared in an Elizabethan cookbook. This early creation was an unleavened rich cookie, dense and buttery, quite different from our modern fluffy biscuit base. The term short in baking refers to the high fat content that creates a tender, crumbly texture, breaking apart easily in your mouth rather than forming long, elastic strands. During the early 1600s, these shortcakes gained popularity when they made their way into common English kitchens. The original shortcake was essentially a sweet biscuit, often made with lard or butter, sugar, and flour. It provided a sturdy foundation for various toppings, though strawberries had not yet joined this culinary partnership. The marriage of strawberries and shortcake emerged much later in mid-19th century America. The first documented strawberry cake appeared in the Ohio Cultivator on June 1st, 1845, marking the beginning of this beloved combination. 2 years later, in 1847, Eliza Leslie of Philadelphia popularized the concept in her cookbook, The Lady's Receipt Book, cementing strawberry shortcake's place in American culinary tradition. These early strawberry cakes differed significantly from today's version. Leslie's recipe called for thick layers of pastry with mashed strawberries between them, finished with icing rather than whipped cream. The dessert evolved gradually, with whipped cream eventually replacing the icing as preferred topping, creating the lighter, more elegant presentation we know today. During the late 1800s, strawberry shortcake became associated with American patriotism and summer celebrations. Its red strawberries, white cream, and golden biscuit echoed the colors of the flag, making it a natural choice for 4th of July gatherings and county fairs. This association strengthened its place in American culture, transforming it from a simple dessert into a symbol of summer abundance and national pride. The early 20th century brought industrialization to strawberry shortcake production. grocery stores began selling packaged sponge cake cups specifically for strawberry shortcakes, making the dessert more accessible to busy households. This convenience version, while practical, represented a departure from the traditional biscuit base that many purists still prefer today. Interestingly, strawberry shortcake found new expression in 1960s Japan, where it transformed into a layered sponge cake creation with strawberries and whipped cream. This Japanese interpretation became so popular that it's now considered the country's most beloved cake, demonstrating how culinary traditions adapt and flourish across different cultures. Regional variations within America also developed over time. New England traditionally favors a more biscuit-like base, often unsweetened, allowing the strawberries and cream to provide all the dessert's sweetness. Southern versions tend toward sweeter, more cake-like foundations, sometimes incorporating buttermilk for tang and tenderness. West Coast interpretations often emphasize the strawberries themselves, using local varieties and minimal intervention to let their natural flavors shine. The beauty of strawberry shortcake lies in its fundamental simplicity, a quality that has ensured its endurance through changing culinary fashions. At its heart, it remains what it has always been, a celebration of peak strawberry season, a gentle canvas for summer's most precious fruit, wrapped in the comfort of tender pastry and rich cream. This timeless appeal explains why strawberry shortcake continues to grace tables from backyard barbecues to elegant restaurants, maintaining its status as America's quintessential summer dessert. The strawberry, our dessert's crowning jewel, holds secrets that extend far beyond its obvious beauty and sweetness. What we call a strawberry isn't technically a berry at all, but rather an aggregate fruit. Those tiny seeds dotting the surface aren't actually seeds either, but individual fruits called achenes, each containing a single seed within. This botanical complexity mirrors the strawberry's equally complex journey from wild woodland plant to the cultivated treasure we enjoy today. The modern strawberry originated in 18th century Europe through an accidental cross between two New World species. French botanist Antoine Nicolas Duchesne observed this natural hybridization in 1766, leading to the large, sweet strawberries we know today. This hybrid combined the size of Chilean strawberries with the flavor intensity of North American varieties, creating something superior to either parent. Before this fortuitous combination, Europeans had been cultivating small, intensely flavored woodland strawberries for centuries. These tiny fruits, while delicious, could never satisfy the demand for larger desserts like shortcake. The development of the modern strawberry made our beloved dessert possible, providing enough fruit volume to create those generous layers we associate with perfect strawberry shortcake. Nutritionally, strawberries deserve their reputation as a nutritional powerhouse. Just 8 medium strawberries provide more vitamin C than an entire orange, delivering over 140% of the daily recommended intake. This vitamin C amount varies throughout the growing season, peaking when berries ripen slowly in cooler temperatures, which explains why spring strawberries often taste more complex and nutritious than their summer counterparts forced to ripen quickly in heat. The vibrant red color that makes strawberries so visually appealing comes from natural compounds called anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that protect our cells from damage. These compounds increase as strawberries ripen, meaning the deepest red berries offer the most health benefits. Interestingly, strawberries continue producing these beneficial compounds even after harvest, though their vitamin C amount begins declining within hours of picking. 1 cup of fresh strawberries contains only 43 calories yet provides over 13% of daily fiber needs. This remarkable nutrient density makes strawberries naturally satisfying, helping explain why strawberry shortcake feels indulgent yet surprisingly light. The fiber in strawberries also aids digestion and helps regulate blood sugar, making our dessert less likely to cause energy crashes than many other sweet treats. Strawberries contain folate, potassium, and manganese, minerals essential for heart health and proper cellular function. The folate content makes them particularly valuable for pregnant women, while potassium supports healthy blood pressure. Manganese aids in bone formation and wound healing, adding to strawberries' impressive nutritional profile. The timing of strawberry selection dramatically affects both flavor and nutritional value. Strawberries picked at peak ripeness contain maximum sugars, acids, and beneficial compounds. Unlike many fruits, strawberries don't continue ripening after harvest, making field selection crucial. The best strawberries for shortcake display deep red color extending to their shoulders, yield slightly to gentle pressure, and release their characteristic fragrance even before you bring them close. Temperature plays a crucial role in strawberry flavor development. Cool nights and warm days during ripening create the perfect balance of sugars and acids that make strawberries sing in desserts. This explains why early summer strawberries from northern climates often surpass hot weather varieties in flavor complexity, despite being smaller and less visually perfect. Storage affects strawberries more dramatically than most realize. These delicate fruits respire rapidly, converting sugars to carbon dioxide and water. Refrigeration slows this process but can't stop it entirely. For shortcake, strawberries taste best when brought to room temperature before serving, allowing their aromatic compounds to volatilize and reach your nose, enhancing perceived flavor. The ideal strawberries for shortcake balance sweetness with acidity. Pure sweetness becomes cloying when combined with rich cream and buttery biscuit, while appropriate acidity brightens the entire dessert. This balance varies by variety, with some strawberries bred primarily for appearance sacrificing the complex flavor profile that makes shortcake memorable. Strawberry preparation affects texture and flavor release in the finished dessert. Slicing exposes more surface area to air, allowing flavors to concentrate slightly while preventing pieces from becoming too large for comfortable eating. A light dusting of sugar draws out natural juices, creating a syrup that soaks into the biscuit layers and melds all components together. The strawberry's natural affinity for cream stems from fat-soluble compounds that dissolve into dairy products, creating deeper, more rounded flavors than either ingredient provides alone. This biochemical compatibility explains why strawberries and cream have paired together across cultures and centuries, from English tea services to American shortcakes, creating combinations that feel both familiar and eternally satisfying. Beneath our gorgeous strawberries and billowy cream lies the foundation that makes strawberry shortcake possible, the tender, flaky biscuit. This seemingly simple base requires understanding the science behind its key ingredients and their transformation through heat and technique into something far greater than their individual parts. All-purpose flour forms our biscuit's structural foundation, but its role extends beyond mere bulk. Wheat flour contains two proteins, which combine with moisture to form gluten networks. In bread, we encourage strong gluten development for structure and chew. In shortcake biscuits, we want just enough gluten formation to hold the biscuit together while maintaining tenderness. This delicate balance explains why gentle mixing produces superior results to vigorous kneading. The wheat used for flour undergoes extensive processing from grain to powder. After harvesting, wheat berries are cleaned, tempered with moisture, then ground between steel rollers. The resulting flour is sifted multiple times to achieve consistent particle size. For biscuits, this uniformity ensures even hydration and consistent texture throughout each layer. The protein amount in all-purpose flour, typically 10 to 12%, provides exactly the right strength for tender biscuits that hold together without becoming tough. Butter serves as both flavor enhancer and texture creator in our biscuit base. The key lies in butter's unique composition, approximately 80% fat, 16% water, and 4% milk solids. When cold butter hits out of an air, the water instantly converts to steam, creating pockets of lift that result in flaky layers. This process requires butter to remain cold and distinct from the flour until baking begins, explaining why many recipes emphasize keeping butter chilled throughout preparation. The milk solids in butter contribute significant flavor complexity, providing nutty, caramelized notes that complement strawberries beautifully. European-style butters, with their higher fat amount and cultured flavors, can elevate shortcake biscuits noticeably, though standard unsalted butter produces excellent results when properly handled. The choice of unsalted butter allows precise salt control, crucial for balancing the sweetness of strawberries and cream. Baking powder acts as our gentle lifting agent, different from yeast in both mechanism and result. Double-acting baking powder releases carbon dioxide twice, first when moistened, then again when heated. This dual action provides insurance against dense biscuits while creating the tender crumb perfect for absorbing strawberry juices. Too much baking powder creates bitter flavors and uneven texture, while too little results in heavy, dense biscuits that compete rather than complement our fruit. Sugar in shortcake biscuits serves multiple purposes beyond sweetness. It tenderizes by interfering with gluten development, browns through caramelization for color and flavor, and retains moisture for improved keeping quality. The amount of sugar affects the final texture significantly. Too much creates cake-like results, while too little produces savory biscuits that clash with sweet strawberries and cream. Salt enhances all other flavors while strengthening gluten structure slightly, contributing to better texture. Even in sweet applications, salt prevents flavors from tasting flat or one-dimensional. A small amount of salt makes strawberries taste more intensely strawberry-like and cream seem richer and more luxurious. This flavor enhancement explains why completely salt-free baking often disappoints despite seeming healthier. Eggs, when included in shortcake recipes, provide richness, color, and binding power. The proteins in eggs coagulate during baking, creating structure, while egg fats contribute tenderness and flavor. Egg yolks specifically add golden color and rich mouthfeel, making biscuits feel more luxurious. Some traditional recipes omit eggs entirely, relying on butter and careful technique for richness, while others include whole eggs or just yolks for enhanced results. The interaction between these ingredients creates chemistry that transforms simple components into something magical. Fat coats flour proteins, limiting gluten development and ensuring tenderness. Liquid dissolves sugar and activates baking powder while hydrating flour proteins just enough for structure. Heat drives off moisture, concentrates flavors, and triggers browning reactions that create appealing color and complex taste. Temperature control throughout mixing and baking determines success or failure. Cold ingredients stay distinct during mixing, creating layers. Hot oven air creates steam for lift and triggers browning for flavor. The thermal shock of cold biscuits meeting hot oven produces the dramatic rise and flaky texture that makes shortcake biscuits special. Understanding these scientific principles transforms biscuit making from guesswork into reliable craft. When you see how each ingredient contributes to the final result, you can adjust techniques and ingredients confidently, creating shortcake biscuits that provide the perfect foundation for strawberries and cream while contributing their own subtle complexity to the finished dessert. Heavy cream represents the luxurious finishing touch that elevates strawberry shortcake from simple fruit and biscuit into an indulgent dessert experience. This rich dairy product, containing at least 36% fat, possesses unique properties that make it perfect for whipping into billowy clouds that both complement and enhance our other ingredients. The transformation of liquid cream into whipped cream involves fascinating physics. Cream contains fat globules suspended in water, stabilized by proteins and emulsifiers. When agitated vigorously, these fat globules collide and partially break, releasing fat that coats air bubbles being incorporated during whipping. This network of fat-coated air bubbles creates the stable foam we call whipped cream, light enough to melt on the tongue yet substantial enough to hold its shape. Temperature critically affects whipping success. Cold cream whips more easily and holds its structure better than warm cream because cold fat remains more solid, creating stronger networks around air bubbles. Chilling the bowl and beaters beforehand provides additional insurance against failure, especially in warm kitchens. Many professional bakers keep their mixing equipment in the refrigerator specifically for cream whipping, ensuring optimal conditions every time. The fat amount in heavy cream provides both whipping ability and flavor richness. Lower fat products like light cream or half and half lack sufficient fat to create stable whip structures, while ultra-high fat creams can become grainy if overwhipped. Heavy cream's 36 to 40% fat amount hits the perfect balance, whipping easily while maintaining smooth texture and rich mouthfeel that complements strawberries beautifully. Timing during whipping determines the final texture. Underwhipped cream remains too liquid to hold its shape on shortcake, while overwhipped cream becomes grainy and eventually turns into butter and buttermilk. The ideal whipped cream for shortcake holds soft peaks that droop slightly when the beater is lifted, providing enough structure to layer attractively while remaining creamy and smooth in the mouth. Traditional preparation methods produce subtly different results than modern techniques. Hand whipping creates denser, more stable cream due to the gentler incorporation of air, while electric mixers work faster but require careful attention to prevent overwhipping. Some experienced bakers prefer finishing machine whipped cream by hand, gaining precise control over the final texture while developing the arm strength that connected earlier generations more intimately with their cooking. Assembly technique significantly impacts the final eating experience. The order of layering affects both visual appeal and flavor distribution. Beginning with biscuit, then strawberries, then cream allows the fruit juices to soak into the biscuit while the cream provides a clean, rich finish. Some prefer multiple layers, alternating biscuit pieces with strawberries and cream, creating more complex textural interactions in each bite. Temperature considerations during assembly ensure optimal texture and flavor. Room temperature strawberries release more aroma and taste more intensely sweet than cold ones, while slightly warm biscuits complement cold cream beautifully. However, warm biscuits can melt whipped cream, so timing becomes crucial. The ideal approach involves cooling biscuits just enough to handle safely while maintaining slight warmth that enhances their buttery fragrance. The timing of assembly relative to serving affects the dessert's character dramatically. Immediate service preserves distinct textures, crisp biscuit exteriors, fluffy cream, and firm strawberry pieces. Allowing assembled shortcakes to rest briefly permits flavors to meld and fruit juices to soften biscuit layers, creating more unified flavor profiles. Extended waiting periods, however, can result in soggy biscuits and deflated cream. Visual presentation elements contribute significantly to strawberry shortcake's appeal. The contrast between golden biscuit, red strawberries, and white cream creates an inherently attractive combination. Arranging strawberry slices to show their internal patterns, ensuring cream maintains its peak texture, and choosing serving plates that complement rather than compete with these natural colors all enhance the dessert's visual impact. Portion considerations balance indulgence with practicality. Traditional shortcake servings tend toward generous proportions, reflecting its role as a celebration dessert rather than everyday fare. However, the rich combination of butter, cream, and fruit creates natural satiety, making smaller portions surprisingly satisfying. Individual presentations allow each diner to experience perfect ratios of all components in every bite. Storage and serving suggestions help maintain quality when preparation and consumption don't align perfectly. Unassembled components keep much better than finished shortcakes. Biscuits wrapped properly maintain freshness for days, whipped cream holds in the refrigerator for hours, and prepared strawberries improve with brief resting to develop their syrup. This flexibility allows home cooks to prepare components in advance, assembling fresh shortcakes when guests arrive. The final consideration involves matching shortcake style to occasion and season. Rustic presentations suit casual gatherings and emphasize the dessert's home-style heritage, while elegant plating transforms the same components into sophisticated restaurant-worthy presentations. Understanding these presentation options ensures strawberry shortcake succeeds whether served at backyard barbecues or formal dinner parties. Now we bring together all our knowledge into the gentle rhythm of preparation, transforming individual ingredients into the harmonious dessert that has delighted generations. The process begins with organizing your workspace and ensuring all ingredients reach their optimal temperatures, a step that prevents rushing and ensures success. Begin by preheating your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature high enough to create steam lift while avoiding excessive browning. Position your rack in the upper third of the oven where heat circulation promotes even baking and attractive golden color. While the oven preheats, remove butter from the refrigerator and cut it into small cubes, returning them to the cold until needed. This preparation ensures the butter remains properly chilled while becoming easier to incorporate. For the biscuits, measure 2 cups all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons sugar, 1 tablespoon baking powder, and 1 teaspoon salt into a large bowl. Whisk these dry ingredients together thoroughly, ensuring even distribution of leavening and seasoning throughout the flour. Create a well in the center and add 6 tablespoons of cold, cubed butter. Using your fingertips or a pastry cutter, work the butter into the flour mixture until it resembles coarse crumbs with some larger butter pieces remaining. These larger pieces create the flaky layers we desire. Pour 3/4 cup of cold heavy cream into the flour mixture, stirring gently with a fork just until the dough comes together. Resist the urge to overmix, as this develops gluten and creates tough biscuits. The dough should appear slightly shaggy and just barely hold together when gently pressed. Turn the dough onto a lightly floured surface and gently pat it into a rectangle about 3/4 inch thick. Using a sharp knife or bench scraper, cut straight down into 6 to 8 squares, avoiding twisting motions that seal edges and prevent proper rising. Place biscuits on an ungreased baking sheet with sides barely touching, which helps them rise taller by supporting each other during baking. Bake for 12 to 15 minutes until tops are golden brown and biscuits sound hollow when gently tapped. The internal temperature should reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit, ensuring complete cooking while maintaining tenderness. Remove from oven and cool on wire racks until just warm to the touch, preserving some heat to complement cold cream while preventing melting. While biscuits bake, prepare your strawberries by removing stems and slicing them into 1/4 inch thick pieces. This thickness provides substantial fruit presence while ensuring easy eating. Toss sliced strawberries with 2 to 3 tablespoons sugar, depending on their natural sweetness, and let them rest. This maceration draws out natural juices that create a syrup for flavoring and moistening the biscuit layers. For the whipped cream, chill your bowl and beaters in the freezer for 10 minutes before beginning. Pour 1 cup heavy cream into the cold bowl and begin whipping at medium speed until it begins to thicken. Increase speed to medium-high and continue whipping until soft peaks form when the beater is lifted. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons powdered sugar and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, whipping briefly just until combined. Avoid over-whipping, which creates grainy texture and can lead to butter formation. Assembly creates the final masterpiece from your carefully prepared components. Split each warm biscuit horizontally using a fork rather than a knife, which preserves the tender, irregular surface that holds strawberry juices beautifully. Place the bottom half on serving plates and spoon generous portions of macerated strawberries over each, allowing some juice to soak into the biscuit. Top with a dollop of whipped cream, then gently place the biscuit top at a slight angle, creating height and visual interest while allowing glimpses of the layers beneath. The best way to enjoy strawberry shortcake involves savoring each component while appreciating their harmony together. Take time to notice how the strawberry juices have softened the biscuit just enough to make cutting easier while preserving textural interest. Observe how the rich cream balances the fruit's acidity while the buttery biscuit provides satisfying substance. Each bite should contain all 3 elements, creating the complex flavor and texture interplay that makes this dessert so beloved. Seasonal variations can extend strawberry shortcake's appeal throughout the year. Peach shortcake highlights summer's stone fruit bounty, while mixed berries create colorful autumn presentations. Winter versions might feature poached pears or apple compotes, proving the versatility of this basic technique across changing seasons and available ingredients. Strawberry shortcake serves best immediately after assembly, when contrasts between warm biscuit, cold cream, and room temperature fruit create optimal sensory experience. However, the home-style nature of this dessert means that even slightly softened versions retain charm and deliciousness, making it forgiving for casual entertaining. And on that note, we complete our journey through strawberry shortcake's gentle complexities, from its historical roots to the science of its components to the joy of its consumption. The beauty of key lime pie lies lies not just in its taste, but in its story of adaptation and creativity. This dessert represents the ingenuity of people who made something extraordinary from what they had available, turning limitation into inspiration. Tonight, we'll honor that tradition by taking our time and appreciating every element that makes this pie so special. Key lime pie story begins in the remote island chain of the Florida Keys, where geography and necessity combined to create one of America's most distinctive desserts. In the late 1800s, the Keys were an isolated paradise, accessible only by boat and populated primarily by hardy fishermen, sponge divers, and their families who had adapted to life at the edge of the continent. The tropical climate that made the Keys beautiful also presented unique challenges for food preservation. Without reliable refrigeration and with supply boats arriving irregularly, fresh dairy products were nearly impossible to obtain. Milk would spoil quickly in the heat, and ice was a rare luxury that melted almost as soon as it arrived from the mainland. Enter the key lime, a small, intensely flavored citrus fruit that grew abundantly throughout the islands. Unlike the larger Persian limes we commonly see today, key limes are roughly the size of a golf ball with thin, yellow-green skin that yields an extraordinarily tart and aromatic juice. These hardy trees thrived in the sandy, salt-tinged soil of the Keys, providing a reliable source of vitamin C for the island communities. The breakthrough came with the widespread availability of sweetened condensed milk, invented by Gail Borden in 1856 and perfected during the Civil War as a way to preserve milk without refrigeration. This shelf-stable product could survive the long journey to the Keys and remain fresh in the tropical heat. Local cooks discovered that when combined with egg yolks and key lime juice, condensed milk created a custard-like filling that would set without baking, an important advantage when firing up an oven made the already warm kitchen unbearably hot. The earliest versions of key lime pie were often made without any crust at all, simply spooned into bowls and enjoyed as a cool, refreshing treat. When crusts were used, they were typically made from whatever was available, often crushed crackers or cookies mixed with a bit of butter or lard. The graham cracker crust we know today didn't become standard until the 1930s, when mass-produced graham crackers became widely available. One of the most debated aspects of authentic key lime pie is its color. Traditional key lime pie made with genuine key lime juice has a pale yellow hue, not the bright green color many people associate with the dessert. The green color comes from adding food coloring, a practice that began in restaurants and bakeries to make the pie more visually striking and to meet customer expectations. The pie gained national attention in the 1950s and 60s as tourism to Florida increased and visitors discovered this unique regional specialty. Key West restaurants began featuring it prominently on their menus, and food writers started including recipes in national publications. However, this popularity also led to many variations that strayed from the original formula, often substituting regular lime juice for the authentic key lime juice. In 2006, the Florida legislature officially designated key lime pie as the state's official pie, recognizing its cultural significance and connection to Florida's culinary heritage. This designation helped cement the dessert's place in American food culture while also establishing certain standards for what could legitimately be called key lime pie. The fishing community of Key West particularly embraced this dessert because it could be prepared quickly between fishing trips and would keep reasonably well in the heat. Fishermen's wives would often have pies ready when the boats returned, providing a sweet, refreshing treat after days of hard work on the water. traditional preparation methods emphasized simplicity and efficiency. The filling required no cooking, just mixing, and many families developed their own slight variations in proportions based on the tartness of their limes and personal taste preferences. Some added a touch of vanilla extract, others preferred a bit more egg yolk for richness, and a few would top their pies with a light meringue instead of whipped cream. The authenticity of key lime pie became a point of pride for Key's residents, who could often identify imposters made with regular lime juice or artificial flavoring with a single taste. This dedication to authentic ingredients and traditional methods helped preserve the dessert's integrity even as it gained popularity beyond its island origins. Today, key lime pie represents more than just a dessert. It embodies the resourcefulness and creativity of people who turn geographical limitations into culinary advantages, creating something uniquely delicious from the ingredients their environment provided. Creating an authentic key lime pie requires just a handful of simple ingredients, each playing a crucial role in achieving that perfect balance of tart citrus and creamy sweetness. Let's gather everything we need before we begin this gentle process of transformation. For the graham cracker crust, you'll need 1 1/3 cups of graham cracker crumbs, which typically comes from about 9 full graham cracker sheets. You'll also need 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter, melted, and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. The combination of these 3 ingredients creates a sturdy yet tender foundation that complements the tangy filling perfectly. The filling itself requires just 4 ingredients. First, you'll need 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, the magical ingredient that allows this pie to set without baking. Next, gather 4 large egg yolks, which will provide richness and help bind everything together. The star of our show is half a cup of fresh key lime juice, ideally from about 20 to 25 key limes, though bottled key lime juice works beautifully if fresh limes aren't available. Finally, add 1 tablespoon of finely grated key lime zest to intensify that citrus flavor. Begin by preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. While it warms, let's create our crust foundation. Place the graham cracker sheets in a food processor and pulse until they form fine, even crumbs. If you don't have a food processor, place the crackers in a sealed bag and gently crush them with a rolling pin until you achieve the desired consistency. The crumbs should be fine enough to hold together when pressed, but not so powdery that they lose all texture. Transfer the graham cracker crumbs to a mixing bowl and add the granulated sugar, stirring gently to distribute evenly. Pour in the melted butter and mix with a fork until the mixture resembles wet sand and holds together when squeezed in your palm. The butter should coat every crumb, creating a mixture that will press together firmly but won't become dense or heavy. Press this mixture firmly and evenly into a 9-inch pie pan, working from the bottom up the sides. Use the bottom of a measuring cup to create an even, compact surface that will hold its shape during baking. Pay special attention to the corners where the bottom meets the sides, ensuring there are no thin spots that might crack during baking. Bake the crust for 10 to 12 minutes until it's lightly golden and set. Remove from the oven and allow it to cool completely while you prepare the filling. This cooling step is essential because adding the filling to a warm crust can cause it to become soggy. For the filling, begin by whisking the egg yolks in a medium bowl until they're smooth and well combined. Gradually add the sweetened condensed milk, whisking continuously to prevent the eggs from cooking. The mixture should become pale and creamy as you incorporate the condensed milk. Slowly add the key lime juice, whisking constantly. You'll notice the mixture beginning to thicken slightly as the acid in the lime juice reacts with the proteins in the condensed milk and eggs. This is exactly what we want to happen. The filling should have a smooth, pourable consistency that coats the back of a spoon. Stir in the key lime zest, distributing it evenly throughout the filling. The zest adds an extra layer of lime flavor and creates tiny bursts of citrus oil that enhance each bite. Be sure to use only the green outer layer of the lime peel, avoiding the bitter white pith underneath. Pour the filling into the cold crust, spreading it evenly with a spatula. The filling should come nearly to the top of the crust but not overflow. Gently tap the pie pan on the counter to release any air bubbles and create a smooth surface. Return the pie to the oven and bake for 15 to 17 minutes until the filling is set around the edges but still slightly jiggly in the center. The top should look matte rather than shiny, indicating that it is properly set. Overbaking will cause the filling to crack, so watch carefully during the final minutes. Remove the pie from the oven and cool it completely at room temperature before refrigerating. This gradual cooling process helps prevent cracking and allows the filling to achieve its final texture. Refrigerate for at least 3 hours or overnight before serving, allowing the flavors to meld and the texture to become perfectly creamy. Each ingredient in key lime pie tells its own fascinating story, contributing unique properties that come together to create this beloved dessert. Let's explore these components individually, understanding how each one contributes to the final masterpiece. Key limes, scientifically known as the botanical key lime, are quite different from the Persian limes commonly found in grocery stores. These small, round fruits typically measure just 1 to 2 inches in diameter and have thin, smooth skin that ranges from green to yellowish green when ripe. Native to Southeast Asia, key limes were brought to the Florida Keys by Spanish settlers in the 16th century, where they found the perfect growing conditions in a sandy, well-drained soil. The flavor of key limes is distinctly more intense and aromatic than regular limes, with a complex tartness that includes floral and slightly bitter notes. This intensity comes from higher levels of citric acid and essential oils concentrated in the smaller fruit. Fresh key limes yield about 1 tablespoon of juice per lime, making them quite precious. When key limes aren't available, bottled key lime juice provides an excellent alternative, maintaining that authentic flavor profile that makes this pie special. Sweetened condensed milk represents one of the most ingenious food preservation innovations of the 19th century. Created by removing about 60% of the water from fresh milk and adding sugar, this thick, syrupy product could survive without refrigeration for months. The high sugar content acts as a natural preservative, while the reduced water content prevents bacterial growth. In key lime pie, condensed milk serves multiple purposes beyond sweetening. Its thick consistency helps the filling set properly, while the milk proteins react with the acidic lime juice to create a smooth, custard-like texture without requiring eggs as the primary thickening agent. Egg yolks contribute richness, color, and additional binding properties to the filling. The lecithin in egg yolks acts as a natural emulsifier, helping to blend the fat from the condensed milk with the acidic lime juice into a smooth, homogeneous mixture. Egg yolks also contain proteins that coagulate when heated, helping the pie set during its brief baking time. The golden color of the yolks contributes to the pie's characteristic pale yellow hue, the authentic color of traditional key lime pie made without artificial coloring. Graham crackers have an unexpected history as a health food created by Presbyterian minister Sylvester Graham in the 1820s. Graham believed that refined flour and rich foods led to moral corruption, so he developed these crackers using unsifted wheat flour and no added fats or sweeteners. The original Graham crackers were quite different from today's sweetened version, but they maintained their association with wholesome, simple ingredients. When used in pie crusts, Graham crackers provide a subtle honey wheat flavor that complements citrus beautifully, while their relatively low moisture content creates a stable base that won't become soggy. The transformation of Graham crackers into crust involves more than just crushing and binding. When mixed with butter and sugar, the crackers' starches and proteins undergo changes that help create structure. The butter coats each crumb, providing moisture and richness while acting as a binding agent. During baking, the butter helps the crumbs adhere to each other, creating a firm yet tender crust that can support the creamy filling without crumbling. Butter plays a crucial role beyond simple binding in the crust. Its fat content contributes to the tender texture we associate with good pie crust, while its water content creates steam during baking that helps develop the crust structure. The milk solids and butter add a subtle richness and help with browning, creating that golden color that indicates a properly baked crust. Granulated sugar in the crust does more than add sweetness. Sugar helps tenderize the crust by interfering with gluten development in the flour naturally present in Graham crackers. It also contributes to browning through caramelization, creating complex flavors that enhance the overall taste of the pie. The sugar dissolves slightly during mixing with the melted butter, helping to bind the crumbs together more effectively. The magic happens when these ingredients combine. The acid in the key lime juice begins working immediately with the proteins in the condensed milk and egg yolks, starting a gentle setting process that continues during the brief baking time. This chemical reaction is what allows key lime pie to achieve its characteristic texture without lengthy cooking or complicated techniques. Understanding these individual components helps explain why key lime pie works so beautifully and why substitutions often fall short of the original's perfect balance. The perfect key lime pie experience begins long before the first bite reaches your lips. This dessert reveals its best qualities when served at the ideal temperature and accompanied by thoughtful touches that enhance rather than compete with its distinctive character. Temperature plays a crucial role in key lime pie's enjoyment. The pie should be thoroughly chilled, having spent at least 4 hours in the refrigerator, though overnight chilling produces even better results. This extended cooling time allows the filling to achieve its optimal creamy consistency while letting the flavors melt completely. When properly chilled, each bite should feel cool and refreshing, with the filling holding its shape while melting smoothly on your palate. Remove the pie from the refrigerator about 10 minutes before serving to take the edge off the cold without compromising its structure. This brief tempering allows the flavors to open up slightly, making the lime's tartness more approachable while maintaining that refreshing quality that makes key lime pie so appealing on warm days. Traditional accompaniments focus on enhancing the pie's natural qualities rather than masking them. A dollop of freshly whipped cream provides a neutral, creamy contrast to the tart filling, while its light texture complements the dense custard beautifully. When whipping cream for key lime pie, stop just as soft peaks form to maintain a silky texture that won't overpower the delicate filling. Some purists prefer their key lime pie completely unadorned, allowing the pure flavors of lime, condensed milk, and eggs to shine without distraction. This approach highlights the dessert's essential character and pays homage to its humble origins when such embellishments weren't available or necessary. For special occasions, consider garnishing with thin lime zest curls or a few small lime wedges arranged around the plate's edge. These additions provide visual appeal while reinforcing the citrus theme. A light dusting of powdered sugar can create an elegant presentation, though it should be applied just before serving to prevent absorption into the whipped cream. Seasonal considerations can enhance the key lime pie experience. During summer months, this dessert provides welcome relief from heat, making it ideal for outdoor gatherings, barbecues, and poolside entertaining. The refreshing citrus flavors pair beautifully with grilled seafood and light summer fare. In cooler months, key lime pie offers a bright reminder of tropical warmth, bringing sunshine to winter tables when citrus fruits are at their peak. Proper storage ensures your key lime pie maintains its quality for several days. Cover the pie loosely with plastic wrap or store it in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 4 days. The graham cracker crust may soften slightly over time, but the filling will remain delicious. For longer storage, key lime pie freezes beautifully for up to 3 months, though it should be thawed gradually in the refrigerator overnight before serving. When serving key lime pie to guests, use a sharp knife dipped in warm water and wiped clean between cuts to achieve neat, professional-looking slices. The clean cuts showcase the distinct layers of crust and filling while preventing the creamy interior from sticking to the blade. Consider the dining context when planning your key lime pie service. This dessert works equally well as the grand finale to an elegant dinner party or as a casual afternoon treat with coffee. Its versatility stems from its refined simplicity, sophisticated enough for special occasions yet approachable enough for everyday enjoyment. Key lime pie pairs wonderfully with light, tropical-inspired beverages. Iced tea, whether sweetened or unsweetened, provides a refreshing complement, while coffee offers a pleasant contrast to the pie's sweetness. For adult gatherings, consider serving small portions alongside tropical cocktails or a crisp white wine that won't compete with the lime's assertive flavor. The beauty of key lime pie lies not just in its taste, but in its ability to transport us to that sun-drenched paradise where it was born. Each bite carries the essence of ocean breezes, swaying palms, and the ingenuity of people who created something extraordinary from simple, available ingredients. Whether you're enjoying a slice on a busy weekday or savoring it slowly during a special celebration, key lime pie offers a moment of tropical escape. Its perfect balance of tart and sweet, creamy and refreshing, makes it a dessert that satisfies without overwhelming, leaving you wonderfully refreshed. And on that note, we've completed our gentle journey through the world of key lime pie, from its humble beginnings in the Florida Keys to your own kitchen where you can now create this timeless classic. The story of cinnamon rolls begins in Sweden, where they're known as cinnamon buns. These sweet, spiced pastries became deeply embedded in Swedish culture during the 1920s, though their roots stretch back much further. The Swedish tradition of coffee break, a pause accompanied by pastries, helped establish cinnamon rolls as more than just food, but as a social ritual bringing people together. Swedish bakers originally created these treats using an enriched yeast dough, similar to what we use today, but their version was often less sweet than American adaptations. The traditional Swedish cinnamon roll features pearl sugar on top rather than icing, and the cinnamon filling tends to be more subtle. October 4th is actually celebrated as Cinnamon Roll Day in Sweden, highlighting just how important these pastries are to Swedish culture. The migration of cinnamon rolls to America happened primarily through Scandinavian immigrants in the late 1800s and early 1900s. These settlers brought their baking traditions to the Midwest, particularly Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas. American bakeries gradually adapted the recipe, making the rolls larger, sweeter, and often adding the cream cheese frosting we associate with them today. During the Great Depression, cinnamon rolls became popular in American households because they could transform simple, affordable ingredients into something that felt luxurious. The warming spices and sweet aroma provided comfort during difficult times, and the recipe could be stretched to feed large families. The 1950s saw cinnamon rolls become a staple of American diners and truck stops, where they were often served as both breakfast and dessert. This era also introduced the oversized cinnamon roll, sometimes called a cinnamon bun, which became a signature item at shopping mall food courts in the 1980s. Interestingly, different regions developed their own variations. Philadelphia became known for sticky buns, which feature a caramel bottom and nuts. The Pacific Northwest embraced a more European approach with less frosting and higher quality cinnamon. Southern bakeries often incorporated pecans and extra butter, creating richer, more indulgent versions. The science behind cinnamon rolls involves a fascinating interplay of yeast fermentation, gluten development, and the browning reaction that creates those beautiful golden surfaces. The spiral shape isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it creates layers that allow the cinnamon and sugar to caramelize between sheets of dough, creating pockets of concentrated flavor. Modern cinnamon rolls have evolved to include countless variations. Some bakers add orange zest, others incorporate different spices like cardamom or nutmeg. Plant-based versions use non-dairy milk and butter substitutes, while gluten-free adaptations employ alternative flour blends. Despite these innovations, the basic concept remains unchanged, a testament to the perfection of the original Swedish creation. The popularity of cinnamon rolls has even influenced architecture and urban planning. The strategic placement of cinnamon roll stores in airports and malls takes advantage of scent marketing, where the aroma draws customers from considerable distances. This phenomenon has been studied extensively, showing how the smell of cinnamon and baking bread triggers powerful emotional and memory responses in most people. Let's begin with our ingredients for the dough. You'll need 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 packet of active dry yeast, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of whole milk, 1/4 cup of water, and 1 large egg. For the cinnamon filling, gather 1/2 cup of softened unsalted butter, 2/3 cup of packed light brown sugar, and 1 1/2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. The glaze requires 1 1/2 cups of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of softened cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of whole milk, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We start by warming the milk and water to approximately 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is crucial because it's warm enough to activate the yeast but not so hot that it kills the microorganisms. Pour this mixture into a large mixing bowl and sprinkle the yeast over the surface. Add a pinch of the granulated sugar to feed the yeast, then let it sit for about 5 minutes until it becomes foamy and fragrant. While the yeast activates, melt to 6 tablespoons of butter and allow it to cool slightly. In another bowl, whisk together 3 cups of the flour, the remaining sugar, and salt. This dry mixture will form the foundation of our dough structure. Once the yeast mixture is properly foamed, add the melted butter and beaten egg. Stir these wet ingredients together until well combined. Gradually add the flour mixture, stirring with a wooden spoon until a soft dough forms. The dough will seem slightly sticky at this point, which is exactly what we want. Turn the dough onto a lightly floured surface and begin kneading. This process typically takes 8 to 10 minutes of steady work. You'll know the dough is ready when it becomes smooth, elastic, and springs back when poked gently. If the dough remains too sticky, add the remaining quarter cup of flour gradually, but be careful not to add too much, as this will result in dense rolls. Place the kneaded dough in a greased bowl, turning it once to coat all surfaces with oil. Cover with a clean kitchen towel and place in a warm, draft-free location. The first rise takes about 1 hour, during which the dough should double in size. This fermentation period develops flavor and creates the light, airy texture we desire. While the dough rises, prepare the filling by mixing the softened butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon until well combined. The mixture should be spreadable but not runny. Room temperature butter is essential here, as cold butter will tear the dough when applied. After the first rise, punch down the dough gently to release excess gas. On a lightly floured surface, roll the dough into a rectangle measuring approximately 12 by 18 inches. The thickness should be even throughout, about 1/4 inch thick. Take your time with this step, as uneven rolling leads to inconsistent baking. Spread the cinnamon filling evenly across the dough, leaving a 1-inch border along one long edge. This border will help seal the roll when we shape it. Starting from the opposite long edge, tightly roll the dough into a log, pinching the seam to seal. Using a sharp knife or dental floss, cut the log into 12 equal pieces. Dental floss actually works better than a knife because it doesn't compress the dough, maintaining the spiral shape. Place the cut rolls in a greased 9 by 13 inch baking pan, leaving small spaces between each roll for expansion. Cover the pan and allow the rolls to rise again for 30 to 45 minutes until they're puffy and touching each other. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This second rise is crucial for achieving light, fluffy rolls rather than dense, heavy ones. Bake the rolls for 20 to 25 minutes until the tops are golden brown and the internal temperature reaches 190 degrees Fahrenheit. The kitchen will fill with the most wonderful aroma of cinnamon, butter, and caramelized sugar. While the rolls bake, prepare the glaze by beating together the cream cheese, powdered sugar, milk, and vanilla until smooth. The consistency should be thick enough to coat the rolls, but thin enough to drizzle easily. Adjust with additional milk or powdered sugar as needed. Remove the rolls from the oven and let them cool for about 5 minutes before applying the glaze. This brief cooling period prevents the glaze from completely melting off, while still allowing it to soak slightly into the warm pastry. All-purpose flour forms the structural foundation of our cinnamon rolls, and understanding its properties helps explain why these pastries achieve their particular texture. This flour is milled from a blend of hard and soft wheat varieties, typically containing 10 to 12% protein. The protein amount directly affects gluten development, which creates the elastic network that traps gas bubbles produced by yeast fermentation. The wheat used in all-purpose flour undergoes a fascinating journey from field to bag. After harvesting, wheat kernels are cleaned and conditioned with moisture to prepare them for milling. The milling process involves gradually breaking down the kernels through a series of steel rollers, then sifting the resulting particles through screens of different sizes. The endosperm, which becomes our flour, is divided from the bran and germ during this process. Modern flour is often enriched with vitamins and minerals that are lost during milling, including niacin, riboflavin, thiamine, and iron. This enrichment process was introduced in the 1940s as a public health measure to prevent nutritional deficiencies. The flour is also typically bleached to improve its baking properties. Active dry yeast represents one of humanity's oldest biotechnologies, harnessing the power of baker's yeast to create carbon dioxide gas that leavens our dough. These microscopic fungi consume sugars and starches, producing carbon dioxide and ethyl alcohol as byproducts. The alcohol evaporates during baking, while the gas creates the light, airy texture we associate with good bread. Commercial yeast production involves growing these organisms in large fermentation tanks filled with molasses and other nutrients. The yeast cells multiply rapidly under controlled conditions, then are harvested, washed, and dried into the granular form we purchase. Active dry yeast has been dehydrated to about 8% moisture, which puts the cells into a dormant state that can last for months when stored properly. The activation process we perform with warm liquid and sugar essentially wakes up these dormant cells and provides them with the moisture and food they need to begin reproducing. The foaming we observe indicates that fermentation has begun and the yeast is viable. Temperature is critical during this process because yeast cells are quite sensitive. Below 80 degrees, they remain sluggish. Above 120 degrees, they begin to die. Whole milk contributes both moisture and richness to our cinnamon rolls through its fat amount, typically around 3.25%. This fat serves multiple functions in baking. It tenderizes the gluten structure, creating a softer crumb, and it carries flavors more effectively than water alone. The milk proteins also contribute to browning through the browning reaction, giving our rolls their appealing golden color. The lactose in milk provides additional food for the yeast, though yeast processes lactose more slowly than simple sugars. This extended fermentation can actually improve flavor development, creating more complex tastes in the finished product. The calcium in milk also strengthens the gluten network, contributing to better dough structure. Milk processing involves pasteurization, which heats the milk to eliminate harmful bacteria while preserving nutritional value and taste. The homogenization process breaks down fat globules into smaller, more uniform sizes, creating the smooth, consistent texture we expect. These processes ensure food safety while maintaining the baking properties that make milk so valuable in pastry production. Unsalted butter provides both flavor and texture to our cinnamon rolls. The fat amount, typically 80 to 82%, creates tenderness by coating flour proteins and limiting gluten development. The water amount in butter, about 16 to 18%, contributes to steam production during baking, which helps create flaky layers. Butter production begins with cream division from whole milk, followed by churning that breaks the fat globule membranes and allows fat particles to clump together. The resulting butter is then washed to remove excess buttermilk and salted if desired. European-style butters often have higher fat amounts and lower water amounts, which can affect baking results. The temperature of butter significantly impacts its behavior in baking. Cold butter creates flaky textures by remaining in discrete pieces that melt during baking, creating steam pockets. Softened butter, as we use in our filling, incorporates more easily and creates smoother textures. The melted butter in our dough distributes evenly throughout, creating uniform tenderness. Eggs serve as both binding agents and enrichment in our cinnamon rolls. The proteins in eggs coagulate when heated, helping to set the structure of the finished pastry. The lecithin in egg yolks acts as an emulsifier, helping to blend fats and liquids more effectively. This creates a more uniform dough that rises more predictably. The average large egg contains about 6 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat, along with various vitamins and minerals. The protein quality in eggs is considered nearly perfect from a nutritional standpoint, containing all essential amino acids in optimal proportions. In baking, eggs also contribute to moisture retention, helping keep our rolls fresh longer. Cinnamon stands as the star ingredient that gives these rolls their distinctive character and irresistible aroma. What we commonly call cinnamon actually comes from 2 different plants, each with unique properties and flavor profiles. Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, comes from Sri Lanka and has a delicate, sweet flavor with subtle citrus notes. Cassia cinnamon, more common in American supermarkets, originates from China and Indonesia and offers a stronger, more intense flavor with slight spicy heat. The cinnamon we use comes from the inner bark of evergreen trees in the cinnamon family. Harvesting involves cutting shoots from cinnamon trees, then removing the outer bark to reveal the inner bark underneath. As this inner bark dries, it naturally curls into the quill shapes we recognize as cinnamon sticks. These quills are then ground into the powder we use in baking. Cinnamon contains several compounds that contribute to its distinctive flavor and aroma. Cinnamaldehyde provides the primary cinnamon taste and smell, while eugenol adds subtle clove-like notes. Coumarin, found in higher concentrations in cassia cinnamon, contributes to the sweet, vanilla-like undertones. These compounds are volatile, meaning they evaporate easily, which explains why cinnamon's aroma is so noticeable and appealing. The spice trade historically made cinnamon incredibly valuable, sometimes worth more than gold. Ancient Egyptians used it in embalming processes, while Romans burned it at funerals. The search for cinnamon and other spices drove much of the age of exploration, leading to the discovery of new trade routes and continents. Today, cinnamon remains one of the most popular spices worldwide, prized for both culinary and potential health benefits. Brown sugar brings sweetness and moisture to our cinnamon filling while contributing complex flavors that complement the cinnamon beautifully. Brown sugar is essentially white sugar with molasses added back into it. Light brown sugar contains about 3.5% molasses, while dark brown sugar contains about 6.5%. This molasses amount gives brown sugar its characteristic color, flavor, and moisture-retaining properties. The molasses in brown sugar comes from sugarcane processing. When sugarcane juice is boiled and crystallized, the first crystallization produces raw sugar and molasses. Further refining removes more molasses, eventually creating white sugar. By adding controlled amounts of molasses back to refined white sugar, manufacturers create consistent brown sugar products. Brown sugar's hygroscopic properties, meaning it attracts and holds moisture from the air, help keep our cinnamon rolls moist and tender. The molasses also contains trace minerals like calcium, iron, and potassium, though in very small amounts. More importantly for our rolls, molasses caramelizes at lower temperatures than white sugar, contributing to the rich, complex flavors that develop during baking. The acids in molasses also react with baking soda in some recipes, though our cinnamon rolls rely on yeast for leavening. However, these acids do contribute to flavor development and can affect the final color of baked goods. The moisture in brown sugar can cause it to harden over time as water evaporates, but this doesn't affect its baking properties once dissolved or mixed with other ingredients. Vanilla extract adds depth and complexity to our glaze, enhancing the overall flavor profile without overwhelming the cinnamon. Real vanilla extract comes from the seed pods of vanilla orchids, primarily Vanilla planifolia. These orchids are native to Mexico but are now cultivated in Madagascar, Tahiti, and other tropical regions. Madagascar produces about 80% of the world's vanilla, known for its rich, creamy flavor profile. Vanilla bean processing involves a complex curing process that takes several months. Fresh vanilla pods contain vanillin precursors but little actual vanillin flavor. The curing process involves blanching the pods in hot water, then alternating between sweating in cloth and drying in the sun for weeks. This process develops the vanillin and other flavor compounds that give vanilla its distinctive taste and aroma. Pure vanilla extract is made by macerating cured vanilla beans in alcohol and water. The alcohol extracts the flavor compounds from the beans, creating the liquid extract we use in baking. By law, pure vanilla extract must contain at least 35% alcohol and 13.35 ounces of vanilla beans per gallon. The aging process continues even after bottling, with vanilla extract actually improving in flavor over time. Vanillin is the primary flavor compound in vanilla, but real vanilla contains over 250 different chemical compounds that contribute to its complex flavor profile. This explains why artificial vanilla, which contains only synthetic vanillin, tastes noticeably different from pure vanilla extract. The additional compounds in real vanilla create subtle notes that complement and enhance other flavors in baked goods. Powdered sugar, also called confectioner's sugar, creates the smooth, sweet glaze that grounds our cinnamon rolls. This sugar is made by grinding granulated sugar into a fine powder, then adding a small amount of cornstarch to prevent caking. The cornstarch, typically about 3% of the total weight, absorbs moisture and keeps the sugar particles from sticking together. The fineness of powdered sugar makes it ideal for glazes and frostings because it dissolves quickly and completely in small amounts of liquid. The particle size is much smaller than granulated sugar, creating smooth textures without the grittiness that would result from using regular sugar. Different grades of powdered sugar exist, with 10 times being the finest and most common for home baking. The cornstarch in powdered sugar serves another purpose in our glaze beyond preventing caking. It acts as a thickening agent, helping the glaze achieve the proper consistency for coating our rolls. This is why glazes made with powdered sugar have a different texture than those made with granulated sugar, appearing more opaque and coating more evenly. Cream cheese in our glaze adds richness and tangy flavor that balances the sweetness of the powdered sugar. Cream cheese is made by adding lactic acid bacteria to cream and milk, which ferments the lactose and creates the characteristic tangy flavor. The high fat amount, typically around 33%, creates the rich mouthfeel that makes cream cheese frosting so appealing. The production of cream cheese involves heating the cream and milk mixture to specific temperatures, then adding the bacterial cultures that begin fermentation. The mixture is then heated again to stop fermentation at the desired acidity level. The resulting curds are drained and processed into the smooth, spreadable consistency we know as cream cheese. The perfect cinnamon roll experience begins with timing and temperature. These pastries are at their absolute best when served warm, about 10 to 15 minutes after coming out of the oven. At this temperature, the glaze has set but the interior remains soft and steamy, and the cinnamon filling is still slightly gooey. The contrast between the tender dough and the caramelized cinnamon sugar creates the ideal textural experience. If your rolls have cooled completely, gentle reheating brings back much of their original appeal. A 30-second stint in the microwave works for individual rolls, though be careful not to overheat, as this can make the dough tough. For multiple rolls, wrapping them in foil and warming in a 300-degree oven for about 10 minutes provides more even heating. Some bakers prefer to brush the top slightly with butter before reheating to restore moisture and enhance browning. The traditional accompaniment to cinnamon rolls is coffee, and this pairing has deep cultural roots. The slight bitterness of coffee provides a perfect counterpoint to the sweet, rich pastry, while the warmth of both beverages and food creates a comforting sensory experience. Different coffee preparations complement cinnamon rolls in various ways. A medium roast with chocolate notes enhances the caramelized sugar flavors, while a lighter roast with fruity notes can highlight the spice complexity. Tea offers another classic pairing, particularly black teas like English breakfast or Earl Grey. The tannins in black tea cut through the richness of the butter and glaze, cleansing the palate between bites. Chai tea, with its own cinnamon and spice blend, creates harmonious flavor echoes that enhance both the tea and the pastry. For those preferring non-caffeinated options, herbal teas like chamomile provide gentle, warming accompaniments. Cold milk represents perhaps the most nostalgic pairing, evoking childhood memories and comfort food experiences. The cool temperature and creamy texture provide textural contrast, while the mild flavor doesn't compete with the cinnamon and sugar. Whole milk works best, as the fat amount complements the richness of the rolls. Some people prefer chocolate milk, which adds another layer of sweetness and creates an indulgent treat. Proper storage extends the enjoyment of cinnamon rolls beyond their initial serving. At room temperature, covered with plastic wrap or stored in an airtight container, they remain fresh for 2 to 3 days. The glaze may absorb slightly into the rolls during storage, but this often enhances the overall flavor integration. Refrigeration extends storage life to about a week, though the texture becomes slightly firmer. For longer storage, cinnamon rolls freeze exceptionally well. Wrap individual rolls in plastic wrap, then place in freezer bags for up to 3 months. They can be thawed at room temperature or reheated directly from frozen. Some bakers prefer to freeze the rolls before adding glaze, then prepare fresh glaze when serving. This maintains the visual appeal and prevents the glaze from becoming too absorbed. Seasonal variations add interest throughout the year. During autumn, adding a small amount of nutmeg or allspice to the cinnamon filling echoes fall baking traditions. Orange zest mixed into the glaze creates a bright note that's particularly welcome during winter months. Spring variations might include lemon zest or a light almond flavoring, while summer versions could incorporate fresh berries between the layers. Cultural serving styles vary significantly around the world. In Sweden, cinnamon rolls are typically served with coffee during coffee break, often accompanied by other pastries and light conversation. German variations might be served with whipped cream or vanilla sauce. American traditions often make cinnamon rolls the centerpiece of weekend breakfast or holiday morning celebrations, sometimes accompanied by bacon or fresh fruit. The social aspect of cinnamon rolls shouldn't be overlooked. These pastries have a unique ability to bring people together, whether it's the anticipation while they bake, the shared enjoyment of their aroma, or the communal experience of enjoying them warm from the oven. Many families have traditions around cinnamon roll baking, passing recipes and techniques through generations. For special occasions, cinnamon rolls can be dressed up with additional garnishes. Chopped pecans or walnuts sprinkled over the glaze add textural interest and nutty flavors. A light dusting of additional cinnamon provides visual appeal and intensifies the spice flavor. Some bakers drizzle caramel sauce over the glaze for extra indulgence, though this moves decidedly into dessert territory. The versatility of cinnamon rolls extends to serving sizes and presentations. Individual rolls work well for casual snacking or packed lunches, while a pan of connected rolls creates a more dramatic presentation for gatherings. Some bakers create oversized rolls for sharing, while others make mini versions for parties or events where smaller portions are preferred. And on that note, we've completed our journey through the wonderful world of cinnamon rolls, from their Swedish origins to the perfect glaze consistency, from the science of yeast fermentation to the art of achieving the ideal spiral. These remarkable pastries represent the beautiful intersection of simple ingredients, time-honored techniques, and the magic that happens when flour, butter, sugar, and spice come together in perfect harmony. Apple pie's story begins not in America, as many might assume, but in the medieval kitchens of England, where the first documented apple pie recipe appeared in 1381. This ancient recipe was quite different from what we know today. Medieval bakers created thick, hard crusts called coffins that served more as cooking vessels than edible pastry. These early pies were practical affairs, designed to preserve the fruit filling for weeks or even months. The concept of fruit pies traveled even further back in time. Ancient Romans created early versions using honey and various fruits, though apples weren't yet the star ingredient. The marriage of apples and pastry truly blossomed during the Renaissance, when European bakers began refining their techniques and sugar became more widely available. When English colonists arrived in America, they brought their pie-making traditions across the Atlantic. However, the apples they found in the New World were quite different from the sweet varieties they knew back home. Most American apples were small, tart crab apples, better suited for cider than eating fresh. This led to the legendary figure of Johnny Appleseed, whose real name was John Chapman, traveling across the frontier planting apple orchards throughout Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois in the early 1800s. The phrase "as American as apple pie" didn't actually appear until 1924 in an advertisement. Yet by then, apple pie had indeed become deeply woven into American culture. During the Great Depression, apple pie represented comfort and abundance during difficult times. Families would stretch their ingredients, sometimes using green tomatoes or even crackers when apples were scarce, yet still called it apple pie. Regional variations developed across America. New England favors sharp cheddar cheese served alongside their pie, a tradition dating back to English customs. The Pennsylvania Dutch created deep dish versions with thick, sweet fillings. Southern bakers often added a touch of bourbon or whiskey to their recipes, while Midwestern cooks perfected the art of lattice crusts that showed off the beautiful apple filling beneath. The French contributed their own influence with an elegant upside-down apple tart that inspired American bakers to experiment with different presentations. German immigrants brought their love of streusel toppings, creating Dutch apple pies with crumbly, cinnamon-laden crowns instead of traditional top crusts. During World War II, apple pie became a symbol of home and what soldiers were fighting to protect. The phrase "for mom" and apple pie represented American values and the comfort of home cooking. Victory gardens often included apple trees, and resourceful bakers discovered how to make delicious pies even with rationed sugar and butter. Today's apple pie continues this rich tradition, connecting us to centuries of bakers who found joy in combining simple ingredients into something magical and comforting. Let's gather everything we need to create our perfect apple pie, taking time to appreciate each component that will come together in delicious harmony. For our flaky, butter-rich crust, we'll need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of cold unsalted butter cut into small cubes, and 6 to 8 tablespoons of ice water. The key to exceptional pastry lies in keeping everything beautifully cold. Our apple filling requires about 3 pounds of apples, which typically means 6 to 8 medium-sized fruits depending on the variety you choose. We'll combine these with 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, a pinch of salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter cut into small pieces. For the finishing touches, we need 1 large egg beaten with 1 tablespoon of water for our golden egg wash, plus a tablespoon of coarse sugar for sprinkling on top. Before we begin mixing and rolling, proper preparation sets the foundation for success. Remove your butter from the refrigerator and cut it into half-inch cubes, then return it to the cold until needed. This ensures the butter stays firm enough to create those wonderful flaky layers in our crust. Fill a small bowl with ice water and set it aside, as we'll add this gradually to bring our dough together. Choose a large, clean work surface for rolling out pastry. A marble or granite counter works beautifully because stone stays naturally cool, but any clean surface will serve us well. Lightly dust your workspace with flour, but not too much, as excess flour can make our crust tough rather than tender. Prepare your apples by washing them gently under cool running water. Pat them dry with a clean kitchen towel before peeling. A sharp vegetable peeler or paring knife works perfectly for removing the skin in long, satisfying ribbons. Once peeled, cut each apple into quarters, remove the core and seeds, then slice each quarter into thin, even pieces about 1/8 inch thick. Consistent sizing helps ensure even cooking throughout our pie. As you slice the apples, place them in a large mixing bowl. If you're working slowly or preparing the filling ahead of time, a gentle squeeze of fresh lemon juice prevents the apple slices from browning, though this step isn't absolutely necessary if you're assembling the pie right away. Preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, positioning the rack in the lower third of the oven. This placement helps ensure our bottom crust bakes completely and doesn't become soggy from the fruit juices above. A soggy bottom crust is one of the most common challenges in pie making, but proper oven positioning helps create that perfect, golden foundation. Gather your essential tools: a large mixing bowl for combining ingredients, a pastry cutter or 2 knives for cutting butter into flour, a rolling pin for shaping our dough, and a 9-inch pie pan for baking. Glass or ceramic pie pans work wonderfully because they can duct heat evenly and allow you to see the bottom crust as it browns. Consider placing a large rimmed baking sheet on the oven rack below where your pie will bake. This catches any juices that might bubble over during baking, saving you from cleaning the oven later and preventing any smoky surprises. The temperature of your kitchen matters more than you might expect. On particularly warm days, you may need to chill your mixing bowl and even your flour for a few minutes in the refrigerator. Cold conditions help maintain the butter's structure, which creates steam pockets as the pie bakes, resulting in that coveted flaky texture. Take a moment to read through the entire recipe before beginning. Pie making flows most smoothly when you understand each step and have everything prepared and within reach. This gentle preparation ritual helps create the calm, focused mindset that leads to baking success. The beauty of pie making lies in its meditative rhythm. Each step builds upon the previous one, creating a peaceful flow that transforms simple ingredients into something truly special. As we move forward, remember that baking is as much about the journey as the destination, and every moment spent in the kitchen adds to the love that makes homemade pie so extraordinary. Now we begin the meditative process of creating our pastry dough, where gentle hands and patience yield the most beautiful results. In your large mixing bowl, whisk together the flour and salt until evenly combined. Add the cold butter cubes, tossing them lightly with your fingers to coat each piece with flour. This coating helps prevent the butter from clumping together as we work. Using a pastry cutter or 2 knives held in a crossing motion, cut the butter into the flour mixture. Work with a gentle, rhythmic motion, cutting through the butter repeatedly until the mixture resembles coarse breadcrumbs with some larger, pea-sized pieces of butter still visible. These larger pieces create wonderful flaky layers as they melt during baking, so don't worry about achieving perfect uniformity. Sprinkle 3 tablespoons of ice water over the flour mixture, then use a fork to gently stir and toss the ingredients together. Add more water 1 tablespoon at a time, stirring gently after each addition until the dough just begins to hold together when pressed. The dough should feel slightly moist but not wet or sticky. Different flours and humidity levels affect how much water you'll need, so trust your hands more than exact measurements. Turn the dough out onto your work surface and gently gather it together, pressing it into a cohesive mass. Divide the dough into 2 portions, making one slightly larger than the other. The larger portion becomes our bottom crust, while the smaller piece forms the top. Shape each portion into a flat disc, wrap them in plastic wrap, and refrigerate for at least 1 hour. This resting period allows the flour to fully hydrate and the butter to firm up again. While the dough chills, prepare your apple filling by combining the sliced apples with sugar, flour, cinnamon, nutmeg, and salt in a large bowl. Toss everything together gently but thoroughly, ensuring each apple slice gets coated with the sweet, spiced mixture. The flour helps thicken the natural juices that release during baking, preventing a watery pie. Remove the larger disc of dough from the refrigerator and let it sit for about 5 minutes to soften slightly. On a lightly floured surface, roll the dough from the center outward in all directions, turning it occasionally to maintain a round shape. Roll it into a circle about 12 inches in diameter and 1/8 inch thick. The dough should be large enough to line your pie pan with some overhang. Carefully transfer the dough to your pie pan by rolling it loosely around your rolling pin, then unrolling it over the pan. Alternatively, you can fold the dough in half, then in half again, place the point in the center of the pan, and unfold it gently. Press the dough gently into the bottom and sides of the pan, being careful not to stretch it, which can cause shrinkage during baking. Spoon the prepared apple filling into the pastry-lined pan, mounting it slightly in the center as the apples will shrink during baking. Dot the filling with small pieces of butter, which adds richness and helps create a glossy, beautiful filling. The butter also helps carry the flavors of our spices throughout the filling as it melts and mingles with the apple juices. Roll out the second disc of dough into another 12-inch circle for the top crust. Place it over the filling, then trim both crusts to leave about 1 inch of overhang beyond the rim of the pan. Fold the overhang under itself to create a thick edge that sits on the rim of the pan. Crimp or flute this edge decoratively using your fingers or a fork, which also seals the two crusts together. Cut several small slits in the top crust to allow steam to escape during baking. These vents prevent the crust from puffing up too much and help the filling cook evenly. You can create simple straight cuts or make them decorative with small leaf or apple shapes. Brush the entire top surface with the beaten egg wash, which creates that gorgeous golden brown finish, then sprinkle with coarse sugar for extra sparkle and sweetness. Place the pie on the prepared baking sheet and bake for 15 minutes at 425 degrees. Then reduce the temperature to 375 degrees and continue baking for 35 to 45 minutes until the crust is golden brown and the filling is bubbling through the vents. If the edges brown too quickly, cover them with strips of aluminum foil. Cool the pie on a wire rack for at least 3 hours before serving, allowing the filling to set properly into that perfect, sliceable consistency we all love. Let's explore the fascinating stories behind each ingredient that makes our apple pie so wonderfully satisfying, beginning with the star of our show, the humble yet remarkable apple. Apples belong to the rose family and originated in the mountains of Kazakhstan, where wild apple forests still grow today. These ancient ancestors of our modern apples were small and quite tart, nothing like the sweet, crisp varieties we enjoy now. The journey of apples from wild fruit to cultivated treasure spans thousands of years. Ancient Greeks and Romans cultivated apples, though they were still quite different from today's varieties. The process of grafting, discovered by ancient civilizations, allowed farmers to reproduce the exact characteristics of particularly delicious apple trees. Every Granny Smith apple, for instance, descends from a single tree discovered by Maria N. Smith in Australia in 1868. For pie making, the best apples balance sweetness with tartness and hold their shape during baking. Granny Smith apples remain the gold standard for pies because their firm flesh doesn't turn to mush when heated, and their bright acidity balances the added sugar beautifully. Honeycrisp, Braeburn, and Northern Spy also make excellent pie apples, each contributing their own subtle flavor notes to the finished dessert. Apple varieties number in the thousands worldwide, each developed for specific qualities like storage ability, climate adaptation, or particular flavors. Some apples excel when eaten fresh, while others transform beautifully when cooked. The science of apple breeding continues today, with new varieties appearing regularly that combine the best traits of their parent trees. Our flour comes from wheat, one of humanity's oldest cultivated grains. Wheat domestication began around 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, fundamentally changing human civilization by allowing people to settle in permanent communities rather than following nomadic lifestyles. The development of agriculture centered around grains like wheat enabled the rise of cities, writing systems, and complex societies. All-purpose flour, our choice for pie crust, contains a moderate amount of gluten-forming proteins. When mixed with water and worked gently, these proteins create just enough structure to hold our crust together while remaining tender. Too much mixing develops the gluten excessively, resulting in tough, chewy pastry rather than the flaky, delicate texture we desire. The milling process that transforms wheat berries into flour has evolved dramatically over centuries. Ancient civilizations ground grain between stones, a method that produced coarser flour but retained more nutrients. Modern steel roller mills create the fine, consistent flour we use today, though some bakers still prefer stone-ground varieties for their distinctive flavor and texture. Butter, that golden treasure of the dairy world, transforms our simple flour mixture into rich, flaky pastry. Butter making dates back to ancient times, though it was initially more common in northern European countries where the cooler climate made it easier to churn and store. The process of churning cream divides the fat globules from the liquid, creating the smooth, creamy butter we know today. European-style butter, which contains slightly less water than American butter, creates even flakier pastry because there's less moisture to develop gluten. The water in butter creates steam during baking, which puffs up the dough and creates those delightful layers that make pastries so appealing. Cinnamon, that warm and comforting spice, comes from the inner bark of evergreen trees native to Sri Lanka and southern India. Ancient Egyptians used cinnamon in their embalming processes, valuing it more highly than gold. Medieval Europeans believed cinnamon came from the nests of exotic birds, a myth that helped justify its enormous cost. The spice trade routes that brought cinnamon to Europe helped shape world history, driving exploration and establishing trade relationships across continents. True cinnamon, called Ceylon cinnamon, has a delicate, sweet flavor quite different from the more common cassia cinnamon found in most American supermarkets. Cassia has a stronger, more intense flavor that works beautifully in apple pie, providing that classic warming taste we associate with autumn baking. Nutmeg adds its own mysterious warmth to our pie filling. This spice comes from the seed of the nutmeg tree, native to the Bond Islands of Indonesia. For centuries, these tiny islands were the world's only source of nutmeg, making the spice incredibly valuable. The Dutch East India Company fought wars over control of nutmeg production, and the spice was literally worth its weight in gold. Salt, perhaps our most taken for granted ingredient, enhances every other flavor in our pie while strengthening the gluten structure in our pastry. Salt has shaped human history, creating trade routes, preserving food for long journeys, and even serving as currency in some cultures. The perfect apple pie deserves to be savored in the most delightful ways possible, and there are countless traditions for enjoying this beloved dessert that span cultures and generations. The classic American approach serves warm apple pie with a generous scoop of vanilla ice cream, creating that magical contrast between the warm, spiced filling and cool, creamy accompaniment. This pairing became popular in the early 1900s when ice cream became more widely available in American homes. In New England, sharp cheddar cheese alongside apple pie remains a cherished tradition dating back to English customs. The combination might sound unusual to modern palates, but the sharp, salty cheese beautifully complements the sweet, cinnamon-spiced apples. Vermont and other New England states still proudly serve pie and cheese together, often melting a thin slice of aged cheddar right on top of the warm pie. Freshly whipped cream offers another luxurious accompaniment, especially when lightly sweetened with a touch of vanilla or maple syrup. The French serve their apple tarts with creme fraiche, which enhances the fruit flavors. Some bakers fold a hint of apple brandy into their whipped cream for an elegant, grown-up twist. For the best flavor and texture, serve your apple pie slightly warm rather than piping hot. This allows the filling to set properly while still maintaining that comforting warmth that makes apple pie so appealing. If your pie is cooled completely, a brief warming in a 300-degree oven for about 10 minutes brings back that fresh baked magic without overcooking the delicate crust. Storage requires some consideration to maintain the pie's quality. Apple pie keeps well at room temperature for up to 2 days, covered loosely with aluminum foil or plastic wrap. For longer storage, refrigerate the pie for up to 1 week, though the crust may lose some of its crispness. To restore crispness to a refrigerated pie, warm it in a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes before serving. Freezing apple pie works beautifully for advanced preparation. You can freeze an unbaked pie for up to 3 months, baking it directly from frozen with an additional 15 to 20 minutes of baking time. Already baked pies also freeze well for up to 4 months. Thaw frozen baked pies in the refrigerator overnight, then warm them gently in the oven before serving. Seasonal considerations make apple pie even more special. Fall brings the peak apple harvest, when orchards offer dozens of varieties at their absolute best. Visiting apple orchards and selecting your own fruit adds a wonderful connection to the ingredients and the changing seasons. Many orchards grow heirloom varieties that you won't find in supermarkets, offering unique flavors and textures for adventurous bakers. Coffee and tea make excellent beverage pairings with apple pie. A rich, dark roast coffee complements the sweet spices beautifully, while black tea, especially Earl Grey with its bergamot notes, creates an elegant afternoon treat. Spiced chai tea echoes the cinnamon and nutmeg in the pie filling, creating harmonious flavor layers. For special occasions, consider serving individual mini apple pies, which allow guests to enjoy their own perfect portion while creating an elegant presentation. These smaller pies also bake more quickly and evenly, making them practical for entertaining. The ritual of sharing apple pie brings people together in ways that few other desserts can match. Whether it's a holiday gathering, a casual family dinner, or a community potluck, apple pie creates moments of connection and comfort. The anticipation as it bakes, filling the kitchen with those incredible aromas, becomes part of the experience itself. Apple pie represents more than just a dessert. It embodies traditions, memories, and the simple pleasure of creating something beautiful and delicious with your own hands. Each pie you bake adds to this rich tradition, creating new memories while honoring the countless bakers who came before us. The perfect slice of apple pie tells a story that spans centuries and continents, connecting us to the farmers who grew the wheat and tended the apple trees, the merchants who traded precious spices, and the home bakers who perfected techniques passed down through generations. When you take that first bite of your homemade apple pie, you're participating in one of humanity's most enduring culinary traditions. And on that note, we've completed our gentle journey through the wonderful world of apple pie, from its medieval origins to the modern kitchen, from simple ingredients to the finished masterpiece cooling on your counter. The story of chocolate chip cookies begins in 1938 at the Toll House Inn in Whitman, Massachusetts. Ruth Wakefield, the inn's owner and head cook, was preparing her usual butter drop cookies for guests when she made a decision that would forever change American baking. She chopped up a bar of Nestle semi-sweet chocolate and mixed the pieces into her cookie dough, expecting them to melt and create chocolate cookies. Instead, the chocolate pieces held their shape, creating something entirely new. The cookies were an immediate success with her guests, and word of this delicious accident spread quickly throughout New England. Ruth had created what would become America's most beloved cookie. The partnership between Ruth Wakefield and Nestle began when the company noticed increased sales of their chocolate bars in the Massachusetts area. When they discovered the reason, they struck a deal with Ruth. She gave them the rights to print her recipe on their chocolate bar packages in exchange for a lifetime supply of chocolate. This agreement introduced the recipe to households across America. By 1939, Nestle began producing the first chocolate morsels specifically designed for baking. These small, uniform pieces were easier to use than chopping chocolate bars and helped standardize the cookie-making process. The recipe printed on every package became known as the original Toll House cookie recipe and remains largely unchanged today. During World War II, soldiers from Massachusetts received care packages containing these cookies, and they shared them with fellow soldiers from other states. This helped spread the popularity of chocolate chip cookies nationwide. The cookies became a symbol of home and comfort for American troops overseas. The cultural impact of chocolate chip cookies extends far beyond their taste. They became associated with maternal love, childhood comfort, and the American home. The phrase homemade cookies often specifically refers to chocolate chip cookies in American culture. They represent hospitality, warmth, and the simple pleasures of home baking. Interestingly, chocolate chip cookies are often used as a benchmark for testing web browsers and computer systems. The cookie files that websites store on computers were named after this beloved treat, chosen because they're small, sweet, and something you might want to keep around. The original Toll House had burnt down on New Year's Eve in 1984, but a historical marker now stands at the site, commemorating Ruth Wakefield's contribution to American culinary history. Her accidental invention has become one of the most replicated recipes in the world, with countless variations and improvements developed over the decades. Today, Americans consume over 7 billion chocolate chip cookies each year. The recipe has traveled globally, adapting to local tastes and ingredients while maintaining its essential character. From crispy thin cookies to thick chewy versions, the basic combination of butter, sugar, flour, and chocolate chips continues to bring comfort to kitchens worldwide. Let's gather our ingredients for this timeless recipe. You'll need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, measured by gently spooning it into your measuring cup and leveling with a knife. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, which will give our cookies their perfect lift and tender texture. 1 teaspoon of salt, preferably fine sea salt or table salt, to enhance all the flavors. For our fat fats and sweeteners, we need 1 cup of butter, softened to room temperature so it creams beautifully with our sugars. 3/4 cup of granulated white sugar and 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar. The combination of these 2 sugars creates the ideal texture and flavor balance. 2 large eggs, also at room temperature for better incorporation, and 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Finally, our star ingredient, 2 cups of chocolate chips. Semi-sweet chocolate chips are traditional, but you can choose milk chocolate for sweeter cookies or dark chocolate for a more intense flavor. Begin by preheating your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature ensures even baking and proper spreading. Line your baking sheets with parchment paper or lightly grease them with butter. In a medium bowl, whisk together the flour, baking soda, and salt. This dry mixture can be set aside while we work on the wet ingredients. Whisking ensures even distribution of the leavening agent throughout the flour. In a large mixing bowl, cream the softened butter with both sugars. If using an electric mixer, beat on medium speed for about 3 minutes until the mixture becomes light and fluffy. This creaming process incorporates air into the dough, creating tender cookies. The mixture should be pale and increased in volume when properly creamed. Add the eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. This gradual incorporation prevents the mixture from breaking apart. Pour in the vanilla extract and mix until combined. The mixture should be smooth and well blended at this point. Gradually add the flour mixture to the butter mixture, mixing on low speed just until combined. Overmixing at this stage can develop too much gluten, resulting in tough cookies. The dough should just come together with no visible flour streaks. Fold in the chocolate chips using a wooden spoon or rubber spatula. Distribute them evenly throughout the dough so each cookie will have a good amount of chocolate in every bite. Using a cookie scoop or rounded tablespoons, drop portions of dough onto your prepared baking sheets. Space them about 2 inches apart to allow for spreading during baking. Each cookie should be roughly the same size for even baking. Bake for 9 to 11 minutes until the edges are golden brown but the center still looks slightly underbaked. The cookies will continue cooking on the hot pan after removal from the oven. This technique ensures chewy centers with slightly crispy edges. Allow cookies to cool on the baking sheet for 5 minutes before transferring to a wire rack. This brief cooling period lets them set up enough to move without breaking apart. The dough can be made ahead and refrigerated for up to 3 days or frozen for up to 3 months. Chilled dough actually produces better cookies, as the cold butter creates less spreading and more controlled baking. For consistent results, use an oven thermometer to verify your oven temperature. Many home ovens run hot or cold, which can significantly affect baking times and cookie texture. Store finished cookies in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 1 week. Place a slice of bread in the container to maintain moisture and keep cookies soft. Let's explore the fascinating world of butter, our first key ingredient. Butter begins its journey as cream, the fat-rich portion of milk that rises naturally to the surface. Traditional butter making involved skimming this cream and churning it by hand in wooden churns until the fat globules clump together, dividing from the liquid buttermilk. Modern butter production follows the same basic principle but uses mechanical churns and precise temperature control. The cream is pasteurized, then cooled and aged to develop flavor. During churning, the cream transforms from liquid to whipped cream, then suddenly breaks as fat globules merge together. The resulting butter is washed with cold water to remove excess buttermilk, then salted if desired. In cookie baking, butter serves multiple crucial functions. Its fat creates tenderness by coating flour proteins and preventing tough gluten development. When creamed with sugar, butter traps air bubbles that expand during baking, creating light texture. The water in butter turns to steam in the oven, providing additional lift. Butter's flavor compounds develop through the fermentation of cream and the browning reactions that occur during baking. European-style butters often have higher fat and more complex flavors due to culturing processes that develop tangy notes. Sugar tells an equally compelling story. Granulated white sugar begins as sugar cane or sugar beets grown in tropical and temperate regions worldwide. Sugar cane, originally from Southeast Asia, spread throughout the world via trade routes and colonization. The process of refining sugar involves crushing the cane to extract juice, then boiling and crystallizing it multiple times to achieve purity. Brown sugar is simply white sugar with molasses added back in. Light brown sugar contains about 3.5% molasses, while dark brown sugar contains about 6.5%. This molasses gives brown sugar its distinctive flavor and moisture, which contributes to chewy cookie texture. In our cookies, sugar serves as more than sweetener. It tenderizes by interfering with gluten development, helps cookies spread by melting during baking, and contributes to browning through caramelization reactions. The hygroscopic nature of sugar, meaning it attracts and holds moisture, helps keep cookies soft. The balance between white and brown sugar in chocolate chip cookies is carefully calculated. White sugar promotes spreading and crispy edges, while brown sugar adds moisture and chewiness. The molasses in brown sugar also contributes complex flavors that complement chocolate beautifully. Eggs bring both structure and richness to our cookies. Each egg contains approximately 60% white and 30% yolk, with the shell making up the remainder. The white consists mainly of water and proteins, while the yolk contains fats, proteins, and emulsifiers like lecithin. In baking, egg proteins coagulate when heated, providing structure to baked goods. The fats in egg yolks contribute richness and help create tender texture. Lecithin acts as an emulsifier, helping blend fats and liquids smoothly together. Room temperature eggs incorporate more easily into cookie dough than cold eggs. The proteins are more flexible when warm, allowing better distribution throughout the mixture. This results in more uniform texture in the finished cookies. Vanilla extract completes our flavor foundation. True vanilla comes from the seed pods of vanilla orchids, primarily grown in Madagascar, which produces about 80% of the world's vanilla. The curing process for vanilla beans takes several months and involves blanching, sweating, drying, and conditioning. Pure vanilla extract is made by macerating vanilla beans in alcohol and water for several months. The alcohol extracts the flavor compounds, primarily vanillin, but also hundreds of other subtle compounds that create vanilla's complex flavor profile. Imitation vanilla uses synthetic vanillin, which lacks the depth of real vanilla but costs significantly less. Flour forms the backbone of our cookies, and its journey begins in wheat fields around the world. Wheat cultivation dates back over 10,000 years to the Fertile Crescent, where early farmers first domesticated wild grasses. Modern wheat varieties have been carefully bred for consistent protein, disease resistance, and milling qualities. The milling process transforms wheat kernels into the fine powder we know as flour. Wheat kernels consist of three main parts: the bran outer layer, the germ which contains oils and nutrients, and the endosperm which becomes white flour. Modern roller mills crack the kernels and divide these components through a series of sieves and air currents. All-purpose flour contains moderate protein levels, typically 10 to 12%, which creates just enough gluten development for structure without making cookies tough. When flour mixes with liquid and is stirred, proteins form gluten strands that provide elasticity and strength. In cookies, we want minimal gluten development to maintain tenderness. The age of flour affects its baking properties. Freshly milled flour produces different results than aged flour due to oxidation processes that strengthen gluten proteins. Most commercial flour is aged naturally or treated with oxidizing agents to standardize performance. Baking soda, our leavening agent, has a fascinating history rooted in chemistry. Sodium bicarbonate occurs naturally in mineral deposits and can be mined directly, but most commercial baking soda is manufactured from salt brine and limestone through the solvay process, developed in the 1860s. When baking soda encounters acid and moisture, it releases carbon dioxide gas that creates bubbles in our cookie dough. In chocolate chip cookies, the acid comes from brown sugar's molasses and the natural acidity in eggs. This reaction begins immediately when wet and dry ingredients combine, which is why cookie dough should be baked promptly. The amount of baking soda affects both rise and flavor. Too little results in dense cookies, while too much creates an unpleasant metallic taste and excessive spreading. The teaspoon called for in our recipe provides optimal lift without off flavors. Baking soda also affects browning reactions in cookies. The alkaline environment it creates promotes Maillard reactions, the complex chemical processes that develop golden color and rich flavors during baking. Salt might seem like a minor ingredient, but its impact on cookie flavor is profound. Salt enhances sweetness perception, making our cookies taste more intensely sweet without adding more sugar. It also strengthens gluten protein slightly and helps control yeast activity in recipes that contain it. Most table salt comes from either rock salt deposits left by ancient seas or solar evaporation of seawater. The refining process removes impurities and often adds anti-caking agents to prevent clumping. Sea salt retains trace minerals that can add subtle flavor complexity. In cookie dough, salt distributes throughout the mixture and concentrates slightly during baking as moisture evaporates. This creates pockets of enhanced flavor that balance the sweetness and highlight other ingredients. Finally, we reach our chocolate chips, the ingredient that transforms simple butter cookies into the beloved treat we're making tonight. Chocolate begins with cacao trees growing in tropical regions within 20 degrees of the equator. These trees produce large pods containing cacao beans surrounded by sweet pulp. The transformation from bean to chocolate involves fermentation, drying, roasting, and grinding. Fermentation develops flavor compounds while reducing bitterness. Roasting further develops flavors and creates the characteristic chocolate aroma we love. Grinding releases cocoa butter and creates the smooth texture of chocolate. Chocolate chips chips were specifically formulated to hold their shape during baking. They contain less cocoa butter than regular chocolate and include stabilizers that prevent complete melting. The teardrop shape maximizes surface area while maintaining structural integrity. Semi-sweet chocolate chips contain at least 35% cacao solids, providing rich chocolate flavor without excessive bitterness. The sugar balances the natural bitterness of cacao, creating the perfect complement to our sweet cookie dough. The tempering process used in chocolate chip manufacturing creates stable crystal structures that give chocolate its snap and glossy appearance. Proper tempering also affects melting characteristics and flavor release. The beauty of chocolate chip cookies lies not just in their taste, but in the countless ways they can be enjoyed and the memories they create. Fresh from the oven, when they're still warm and the chocolate chips are soft and melty, these cookies are perhaps at their most irresistible. The contrast between the slightly crispy edges and the tender, warm center creates a perfect textural experience. Many people have strong preferences about cookie texture. Some prefer them baked until golden and crispy throughout, creating a satisfying crunch with each bite. Others favor the underbaked approach, removing cookies when centers still look slightly raw, resulting in chewy, almost gooey centers. Both approaches have their merits and devoted followers. Pairing chocolate chip cookies with beverages opens up wonderful flavor combinations. The classic pairing with cold milk creates a nostalgic experience that spans generations. The milk's coolness and creamy texture complement the warm spices and rich chocolate perfectly. Coffee offers another excellent pairing, as the bitter notes balance the cookie's sweetness while the warmth enhances the vanilla and butter flavors. Tea drinkers often enjoy these cookies with black teas like Earl Grey or English breakfast, where the tannins provide pleasant contrast to the sweetness. Herbal teas such as chamomile or peppermint create soothing combinations perfect for evening enjoyment. For special occasions, chocolate chip cookies can be elevated with simple additions. A light dusting of sea salt on top before baking enhances all the flavors and adds sophisticated complexity. Serving them slightly warm with vanilla ice cream creates an instant dessert that feels both homey and elegant. Storage methods significantly affect cookie enjoyment. Properly stored cookies maintain their intended texture and flavor for days. Soft cookies should be kept in airtight containers with tight-fitting lids. Adding a slice of fresh bread to the container helps maintain moisture levels. The bread gradually gives up its moisture to keep cookies soft without making them soggy. Crispy cookies require different storage approaches. They should be kept in containers with loose-fitting lids that allow slight air circulation. Storing crispy and soft cookies together will result in texture changes as moisture redistributes between them. Freezing extends cookie life significantly. Baked cookies can be frozen for up to 3 months when properly wrapped. Thaw them at room temperature or warm frozen cookies briefly in a low oven to restore their fresh baked texture and aroma. Cookie dough freezes exceptionally well, allowing you to enjoy fresh baked cookies anytime. Scoop dough into portions, freeze on baking sheets until solid, then transfer to freezer bags. Frozen dough balls can be baked directly from the freezer with just an extra minute or 2 of baking time. Cultural traditions around cookie consumption vary widely. In American culture, chocolate chip cookies are often associated with after-school snacks, bake sales, and expressions of care. The act of baking cookies for others communicates love and hospitality in ways that transcend words. Many families have developed their own traditions and variations. Some add nuts like walnuts or pecans for extra richness and crunch. Others experiment with different chocolate types, mixing semi-sweet chips with white chocolate or dark chocolate pieces. Oatmeal additions create heartier cookies with more complex texture. International adaptations have created interesting variations. European versions often use different chocolate types or add spices like cinnamon. Asian interpretations might include matcha powder or black sesame seeds. These variations demonstrate how a simple recipe can adapt to local tastes while maintaining its essential character. The therapeutic aspects of cookie baking shouldn't be overlooked. The rhythmic motions of mixing, the pleasant aromas during baking, and the satisfaction of creating something delicious provide stress relief and mindfulness opportunities. Many people find cookie baking meditative and grounding. Sharing cookies builds connections between people. Whether bringing them to new neighbors, contributing to community events, or simply offering them to guests, cookies facilitate social bonding and create positive interactions. And on that note, we've completed our gentle journey through the world of chocolate chip cookies. From Ruth Wakefield's happy accident to the complex chemistry of each ingredient, from the careful techniques that create perfect texture to the many ways these treats bring joy to our days, we've explored the complete story of this beloved recipe. Banana pudding holds a treasured place in American dessert history, particularly throughout the southern states where it became a staple at church gatherings, family reunions, and Sunday dinners. The earliest versions of this layered dessert appeared in the late 1800s, though they looked quite different from what we know today. These original recipes often called for ladyfinger cookies or simple sponge cake, layered with sliced bananas and a cooked custard made from scratch on the stovetop. The transformation of banana pudding into its modern form happened gradually through the early 1900s. The introduction of vanilla wafers played a crucial role in this evolution. Nabisco began marketing their famous Nilla wafers in 1967, though similar vanilla cookies existed decades earlier. The company recognized the growing popularity of banana pudding and began printing recipes directly on their boxes, helping to standardize what many consider the classic preparation method. What makes banana pudding particularly interesting from a culinary history perspective is how it represents the democratization of dessert making in America. Before the widespread availability of vanilla wafers and instant pudding mixes, creating layered desserts like this required significant time and skill. The cook needed to prepare custard from scratch, carefully tempering eggs and monitoring temperatures to avoid curdling. The simplified versions that emerged in the mid-20th century made this elegant dessert accessible to home cooks with varying skill amounts. Regional variations tell their own stories about local preferences and available ingredients. In some areas of the South, banana pudding traditionally includes a meringue topping, with egg whites whipped to soft peaks and lightly browned under the broiler. Other regions prefer fresh whipped cream or even a simple dusting of crushed vanilla wafers on top. Some families swear by using jasmine cookies instead of vanilla wafers, while others incorporate cream cheese into their pudding base for extra richness. The cultural significance of banana pudding extends beyond its ingredients and preparation methods. This dessert often appears at gatherings where comfort and hospitality take center stage. Its make-ahead nature makes it perfect for potluck dinners and large family meals, while the familiar combination of flavors evokes childhood memories for many people. The sight of a glass bowl revealing those distinct layers, the pale yellow custard nestled between golden wafers and cream-colored banana slices, has become an iconic image of American home cooking. Understanding this rich background helps us appreciate why banana pudding has maintained its popularity across generations, adapting to changing times while preserving the essential elements that make it so beloved and comforting. Creating the perfect banana pudding requires gathering ingredients that work together to build those signature layers of flavor and texture. Each component plays a specific role in the final dessert, from providing structure to contributing moisture, sweetness, and that distinctive taste we associate with this classic treat. For the custard base, you'll need 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, which will be divided during the cooking process. 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour serves as our thickening agent, creating that smooth, spoonable consistency that holds the layers together without being too thick or too thin. 3 large egg yolks provide richness and help with the custard setting properties, while 2 cups of whole milk create the liquid foundation. A pinch of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon, enhances all the other flavors without making the dessert taste salty. 2 tablespoons of butter add smoothness and a subtle richness to the finished custard, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract provide that essential flavor note that complements both the bananas and the wafers. The layering components are equally important to the dessert's success. You'll need 1 box of vanilla wafers, typically an 11-ounce package, though you may not use every single cookie depending on your serving dish size. 4 to 5 ripe bananas provide the fruit element, and their ripeness amount affects both flavor and texture in the final dessert. For the topping, you can choose between preparing a meringue using 3 egg whites and 6 tablespoons of sugar, or you might prefer 2 cups of heavy cream whipped with 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar for a simpler approach. The preparation process begins with making the custard, which requires your full attention and a gentle approach. You'll need a heavy-bottomed saucepan to prevent scorching, a whisk for smooth mixing, and a fine mesh strainer to ensure the silkiest possible texture. The custard must be stirred constantly while cooking to prevent the eggs from scrambling, and the temperature should remain moderate throughout the process. Timing plays a crucial role in banana pudding success. The custard needs time to cool slightly before assembly, but it shouldn't be completely cold or it will be difficult to spread evenly. The bananas should be sliced just before assembly to prevent browning, and they should be cut into rounds about 1/4 inch thick for the best balance of flavor and texture in each bite. Assembly requires a clear glass bowl or dish, preferably one that holds at least 2 quarts, so the beautiful layers remain visible. Some cooks prefer individual serving glasses for a more elegant presentation, while others opt for a large rectangular dish for easier serving at casual gatherings. The layering process itself is methodical and satisfying, starting with a thin layer of custard on the bottom, followed by vanilla wafers, banana slices, and more custard, repeating until all ingredients are used. The final chilling period is essential for proper texture development. The dessert needs at least 4 hours in the refrigerator, though overnight chilling produces even better results. During this time, the vanilla wafers soften slightly from absorbing moisture from the custard and bananas, creating that perfect tender bite that makes banana pudding so distinctive. The flavors also meld together, with the vanilla notes from both the custard and cookies complementing the natural sweetness of the ripe bananas. Temperature control throughout the process ensures food safety and optimal texture. The custard should reach 160 degrees Fahrenheit during cooking to properly thicken and eliminate any concerns about raw eggs. Once assembled, the dessert should be kept refrigerated until serving time, and any leftovers should be covered and stored in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. The journey toward perfect banana pudding begins with preparing the custard, a process that requires patience and gentle attention. Start by combining the flour, salt, and half of the sugar in your heavy-bottomed saucepan, whisking these dry ingredients together until they're completely blended with no lumps remaining. This initial mixing prevents the flour from forming clumps when the liquid ingredients are added. In a bowl set aside for this purpose, whisk the egg yolks until they're smooth and slightly lightened in color. Gradually add the remaining sugar to the yolks, whisking continuously until the mixture becomes pale and slightly thickened. This process, known as creaming the yolks, helps create a smoother final custard by breaking down the yolk proteins gently. Pour the milk into a measuring cup or small saucepan and warm it slightly, either in the microwave for about 1 minute or on the stovetop over low heat. The milk doesn't need to be hot, just warm to room temperature or slightly above. This warming step helps prevent the custard from taking too long to thicken and reduces the risk of lumps forming. Now comes the crucial step of combining these elements. Add the warmed milk to the flour mixture in the saucepan gradually, whisking constantly to prevent lumps. Start with just a small amount of milk, whisking until smooth, then add the rest in a steady stream while continuing to whisk. Place this mixture over medium-low heat and cook, stirring constantly with your whisk until it begins to thicken. This process typically takes 5 to 7 minutes, and you'll notice the mixture gradually becoming more viscous. Once the milk mixture has thickened to a consistency similar to heavy cream, you'll need to temper the egg yolks. Remove the saucepan from heat temporarily. Take about half a cup of the hot milk mixture and slowly drizzle it into the egg yolk mixture, whisking the yolks constantly. This gradual addition prevents the eggs from cooking too quickly and creating scrambled bits in your custard. Pour the tempered egg mixture back into the saucepan, whisking continuously. Return the pan to medium-low heat and continue cooking, stirring constantly until the custard thickens enough to coat the back of a spoon. This final cooking stage usually takes another 3 to 5 minutes. The custard is ready when you can draw a line across the back of your spoon with your finger and the line holds its shape. Remove the custard from heat and immediately stir in the butter and vanilla extract. The butter should melt completely and incorporate smoothly. Pour the custard through a fine mesh strainer into a clean bowl to remove any small lumps that might have formed during cooking. Press a piece of plastic wrap directly onto the surface of the custard to prevent the skin from forming, then let it cool for about 15 minutes. While the custard cools, prepare your bananas by peeling them and slicing them into rounds approximately 1/4 inch thick. Choose bananas that are ripe but still firm, with yellow skins that may have a few small brown spots but aren't overly soft. The bananas should hold their shape when sliced but be sweet and flavorful. Assembly begins with spreading a thin layer of the slightly cooled custard in the bottom of your serving dish. Arrange a single layer of vanilla wafers over the custard, placing them close together but not overlapping. Cover the wafers with a layer of banana slices, arranging them in a single layer that covers most of the wafers. Spoon about 1/3 of the remaining custard over the bananas, spreading it gently to cover them completely. Repeat the layering process, adding another layer of wafers, bananas, and custard. Finish with a final layer of custard on top, smoothing it evenly across the surface. If If you're adding a meringue topping, spread it over the custard now and place the dish into the broiler for just a minute or two until lightly golden. For whipped cream topping, wait until just before serving to add it. Bananas bring both flavor and fascinating history to our pudding, representing one of the world's most important fruit crops. The bananas we use today are primarily the Cavendish variety, which became the global standard after the previous commercial variety was largely wiped out by disease in the 1950s. This change actually altered the flavor profile of banana desserts, as the previous variety had a more intense, almost artificial banana flavor that many people associate with banana candy and flavoring. For banana pudding, the ripeness amount of your bananas significantly impacts the final dessert. Bananas that are yellow with just a few brown spots provide the ideal balance of sweetness and structure. At this stage, the starches have converted to sugars, creating natural sweetness, but the fruit still maintains enough firmness to hold its shape during assembly and chilling. Overripe bananas become mushy and can make the pudding watery, while underripe green bananas lack sweetness and have an unpleasant starchy texture. Vanilla wafers serve as more than just a crunchy element in banana pudding. These simple cookies were originally created as a delicate accompaniment to tea and light desserts. The traditional recipe includes flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and vanilla, creating a cookie that's sturdy enough to maintain some texture even after absorbing moisture from the custard. The vanilla flavoring in the wafers complements the vanilla in the custard, creating layers of this warm, comforting flavor throughout the dessert. The manufacturing process for vanilla wafers involves creating a relatively dry dough that can be rolled thin and cut into small rounds. This low moisture amount is crucial for banana pudding applications, as it allows the cookies to absorb liquid gradually without completely dissolving. The light, crisp texture provides a pleasant contrast to the smooth custard and soft bananas, while the subtle sweetness adds another dimension to each bite. Milk serves as the foundation for our custard, and the type you choose affects both flavor and texture. Whole milk, with its 3.25% fat amount, provides the richness necessary for a luxurious custard while still allowing the other flavors to shine through. The proteins in milk help the custard set properly when combined with eggs and heat, while the natural sugars add subtle sweetness that complements the added sugar. The fat amount in milk contributes significantly to the mouthfeel of the finished custard. Lower fat milk can be used, but the result will be less rich and may not coat the spoon as nicely. Some recipes call for a combination of milk and heavy cream, which creates an even richer custard but can sometimes overwhelm the delicate banana flavor. Eggs, specifically the yolks, act as both a thickening agent and a source of richness in custard. Egg yolks include lecithin, a natural emulsifier that helps create smooth, creamy textures. They also include proteins that coagulate when heated, helping to thicken the custard. The key to working with eggs in custard is temperature control. Too much heat too quickly will cause the proteins to coagulate rapidly, creating scrambled bits rather than smooth thickening. Fresh eggs work best for custard making, as they have stronger proteins and more stable emulsification properties. The yolks should be bright yellow and firm, indicating freshness and proper storage. Room temperature eggs incorporate more easily into other ingredients, so removing them from the refrigerator about 30 minutes before cooking can improve your results. Vanilla extract provides the signature flavor that ties all the elements of banana pudding together. Pure vanilla extract, made from vanilla beans soaked in alcohol, offers a complex flavor profile with floral and slightly spicy notes. The alcohol evaporates during cooking, leaving behind the concentrated vanilla flavor compounds. Artificial vanilla, while less expensive, provides a simpler, more one-dimensional flavor that some people actually prefer in certain desserts because it matches their childhood memories of banana pudding. The vanilla beans used to make pure extract come primarily from Madagascar, Mexico, and Tahiti, each producing beans with slightly different flavor characteristics. Madagascar vanilla tends to be sweet and creamy, making it ideal for custard-based desserts like banana pudding. The perfect serving temperature for banana pudding falls somewhere between completely chilled and room temperature, typically achieved by removing the dessert from the refrigerator about 15 to 20 minutes before serving. This slight warming allows the flavors to become more pronounced while maintaining the custard's smooth, spoonable consistency. The vanilla wafers will have reached their ideal texture during the chilling period, softened enough to cut easily with a spoon but still providing a gentle bite that contrasts beautifully with the creamy custard. Traditional presentation methods vary depending on the occasion and regional preferences. For casual family gatherings, banana pudding is often served directly from the dish it was assembled in, allowing diners to see those appealing layers while the host scoops generous portions into individual bowls. More formal presentations might involve transferring portions to dessert plates or serving in individual glass cups that showcase the layered construction. Some Southern traditions call for serving banana pudding alongside other comfort food desserts, creating a spread that celebrates regional culinary heritage. The visual appeal of properly made banana pudding cannot be understated. When served from a clear glass bowl, the distinct layers create an attractive presentation that hints at the flavors to come. The pale yellow custard contrasts beautifully with the golden brown vanilla wafers and cream-colored banana slices, while any topping adds another textural and visual element. This natural beauty makes banana pudding an excellent choice for potluck dinners and gatherings where the dessert table serves as a centerpiece. Seasonal considerations can enhance the banana pudding experience throughout the year. During warmer months, the chilled dessert provides a cooling finish to heavy meals, while its make-ahead nature makes it perfect for outdoor gatherings and picnics. Winter presentations might benefit from slightly less chilling time, allowing the dessert to take the edge off cold weather while still maintaining its refreshing qualities. Holiday versions sometimes incorporate seasonal touches like a sprinkle of cinnamon or nutmeg, though purists argue that these additions detract from the classic flavor profile. Pairing suggestions for banana pudding often focus on beverages that complement rather than compete with its creamy sweetness. Strong black coffee provides a pleasant contrast, with its slight bitterness balancing the dessert's rich flavors. Sweet tea, a southern staple, creates a harmonious combination that celebrates regional food traditions. For special occasions, a glass of dessert wine or even a small serving of bourbon can provide an adult accompaniment, though these pairings work best with smaller portions of the pudding. Storage considerations become important when preparing banana pudding for events or when dealing with leftovers. The assembled dessert keeps well in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, though the banana slices may begin to brown slightly after the first day. This browning doesn't affect the flavor significantly, but it can impact the visual appeal. Some cooks brush banana slices with a small amount of lemon juice before assembly to slow browning, though this addition can alter the flavor profile slightly. Leftover banana pudding often tastes even better the second day, as the flavors have more time to meld together and the vanilla wafers continue to soften to their optimal texture. However, the dessert doesn't freeze well due to the high moisture amount and the way freezing affects the custard's smooth texture. For best results, banana pudding should be consumed within its refrigerated storage window. The communal aspect of banana pudding extends beyond its preparation to its consumption. This dessert often appears at gatherings where sharing food represents hospitality and care. The process of serving banana pudding, scooping through those carefully constructed layers, creates a moment of anticipation and satisfaction that connects people to both the food and each other. These social connections help explain why banana pudding recipes are often passed down through families, with each generation adding their own small modifications while preserving the essential character that makes this dessert so beloved. Thank you for joining me on this gentle exploration of ingredients, history, and the quiet satisfaction of creating something delicious with your own hands. I hope these whispered culinary adventures help you find peaceful rest, and I'll see you next time.